Welcome to the Vision and Purpose podcast, where we dive deep into the lives of incredible people who have made a mark on the world. Join us as we explore the journeys, stories, and passions of individuals who have achieved extraordinary feats, shattered barriers, and inspired us all. And now your host, Dr. Sharon H. Porter. Welcome back to another powerful episode of Vision and Purpose podcast. This is where we dive deep into purpose-driven conversation, transformational truths, and real stories that push us to grow, lead, and live fully. I'm your host, Dr. Sharon H. Porter, and today our guest is Dr. Lillie Cox, a powerhouse in educational leadership and a fierce advocate for women in the field. Dr. Cox is the creator of We Lead, an initiative that has provided space, support, and strength for women on their professional journeys in education. For this groundbreaking work, she received the AASA 2021 Dr. Effie H. Jones Humanitarian Award, a recognition reserved for those who deeply champion the advancement and mentorship of women and minorities in leadership roles. Dr. Cox currently serves as the Executive Director of the North Carolina Association for Supervision and Curriculum Development and the Piedmont Triad Education Consortium. With a rich background as a former district superintendent, a central office administrator, and a school leader at every level, she brings a depth of wisdom and vision to her work and to today's conversation. Dr. Cox, welcome to the show. It is an honor to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to dive in to learn more about We Lead and all of the wonderful many things that's in store for women in educational leadership. So let's start at the beginning. What inspired you to create We Lead? Was there a defining moment when you realized that this space for women in leadership was urgently needed?
So I don't tie it to one moment. I think I instinctively knew that there weren't a lot of women in the room when you're a superintendent, and it's more than who your colleagues are. It's often who you're leading your communities beside. Many times, leadership in many other areas, not just in education, has a deficit of women, such as your city council, your county manager, fire, police, your school board. As the superintendent, you're the face of just one of the main organizations in a community. And so those are also maybe predominantly male, and community leaders along with business leaders. So you're alone as a female in more than just one arena. And so I knew that there was a need for it. I was looking for support for someone like myself from other women, and there weren't many that had my experiences or had been in my roles. So that's why I created We Lead.
I'm so grateful for that. And you're absolutely right. I often say there's still cities that have never had a female mayor, states without a female governor ever, so there are so many areas that we still need to reach. So I'm glad that you're championing the educational field with this support with We Lead. Now, you've been a leader at every level in education. I commend you, first of all, for that. From teacher to superintendent. And how have those experiences shaped your leadership philosophy today, especially with you supporting women in educational leadership?
Well, leadership to me is a study in yourself. Leaders, when you lead a school or a classroom even, your decisions are right there in front of you. If you're making people happy or making people upset, or if people don't agree with your decision, or if things don't play out the way you wanted them to, it's right in front of your face. As you grow, if you go up into a leadership position farther away from the day-to-day decisions, you have to understand how those things are playing out in the school and the district level. And so, leadership has been where other people have helped me lead. They've helped me understand what decisions are good, the process that you take to make decisions. And that's where you learn about yourself and you grow as a leader with every experience that I've had. Now, the opportunities that I have to lead on the state, the national level, I've grown and developed into that. I'm still growing and developing. Everything has been a new challenge. And so that has helped me, become the leader that I am today. I believe in treating people well. I believe in listening to people and trying to meet their needs. I believe leaders have to make courageous and difficult decisions, and that we need people that are problem solvers, that are change agents, and who do it in the right way. And so that takes years of experience to be able to pull that off and to do it well and to be successful at it. And still know that it still wasn't perfect, but you did the best that you could. I often tell people by the time a decision lands maybe on a superintendent's desk or it gets to me, many, many people have been involved in it. Could have been resolved at another level. So by the time it gets to you, it's gray. There's not, if it were black and white, simple answer, it would have been resolved already. So lots of times you're making moral and ethical decisions, and those are the types of people that we need in leadership.
Absolutely. You made a great point about the continuous growth in leadership. I often say, of course, it's not a destination, it's a journey. We have to continue to grow and learn and know new things. So I definitely credit you for that. I mentioned in your intro that you received the prestigious Dr. Effie H. Jones Humanitarian Award. Now, for your commitment to mentorship and equity, what does that recognition mean to you personally as well as professionally?
Well, to receive that award, it helped bring attention to We Lead and to women's and leadership overall, and then to the efforts that We Lead is trying to make. So that was the most important thing. We Lead isn't about selecting women over men. It's about having balance. I believe that our children deserve to have the strongest leadership in school districts and state leadership. And if we continue to put barriers in place or don't recognize that there aren't as many women and encourage them to be leaders, children will suffer. Because women bring a lot of things to the table. And so that's really what it meant to me, is that my efforts were being recognized, and that was a powerful thing. It was very meaningful, and I was very appreciative of it.
Congratulations on that wonderful achievement.
Thank you.
Now, we know that women in educational leadership, we've come so far, but there are still challenges in front of us. We still face them today. How does We Lead specifically address some of those challenges?
So I've read a lot. I've attended a lot of conferences and trainings on women in leadership, and a lot of it is saying the same thing. There's areas where we're not maybe given opportunities to be in a meeting, or get an interview, or lead a project, or be heard. We're not invited to the table. So a lot of things that we need to continue to work on are things that they're invisible. It's what's not happening versus what is happening. When something does happen and it's maybe offensive or discriminatory, it's in your face and you know it. But it's when it doesn't happen that I'm trying to make women to be aware of and to look for opportunities where they can fill gaps in their leadership, maybe with experiences they haven't had, and to ask for those, and to be courageous, and to go out and try new things. So We Lead, over the 10 years that I've done We Lead, I've really narrowed it down to 3 areas that I focus on. And one of those is professional development and leadership development with the individual person. So looking, like I said, at yourself, what are the skills that you have that are transferable to the next role? Every role I've had, I've taken a set of skills with me to the next one. And I've left some behind because they were job specific, and I don't need to know how to do that anymore. Someone else does it. But what I learned about leadership, I've carried with me. And then where are things that I haven't had an experience with? You may have never run a budget or done an audit or had to hire someone or terminate someone or speak in front of a county commissioner or hold, a focus group. So we're looking for areas that you haven't had experiences, and what are some ways that you can get those under your belt. And then the second pillar is career advancement, which means taking the 30,000-foot view of your career, looking at, the jobs and the roles you've had, where you are, what do you earn, how long do you want to stay in that role, what is your life situation. Women often are forced to make more decisions based on their personal lives than men, because they're often caregivers and raising children or and taking care of parents, and certainly men do that as well. Women often stay in a position based on some of those other factors. And so really just keeping an eye on that, looking for opportunities, understanding that opportunities don't come maybe when it's the most convenient, but if it's doable, to really think that through and consider taking it, how to look for the best match for you. Do you want to work for someone or for a certain organization? And then the third one is health and wellness. Oftentimes we are so busy taking care of everyone else, or we're just so busy that we don't take care of ourselves. And so I really make sure that we talk about our mental health, our physical wellness. How can we work healthier habits into our days and our weeks? How can we understand that, taking a half day and not doing email, or, over a holiday weekend, it will be there Monday, and how much more productive you will be if you do those types of things. So it doesn't have to be drastic, but little things over time can make your life better. And you are not your job is not your life. And to, make sure that's not your identity, and that you're building that identity outside of work.
I absolutely love that piece of it. And I know in the webinar that we had very recently, I think Ms. Davis or Dr. Davis was the keynote, you mentioned how you don't do text after a certain time. Like that is so important. And we teach people how to treat us. And
Yes.
so you set those boundaries, and it's necessary. And people need to hear that. You don't have to be on 24/7. And so I really appreciate you for saying that, because so many women leaders need to hear that you can take time for yourself. So
Yes.
thank you for that.
Yeah.
So in your role with North Carolina ASCD as well as PTEC, how do you see the leadership landscape evolving in North Carolina, and particularly with regard to equity and innovation?
Well, there's a lot of turnover right now in education, and there has been for the last 10 years. It is increasing over the last 5 years. We're having more and more people move into leadership roles with maybe less developmental experiences. And that is at every level, from the school up to the central office. I think that there is a need for support. And organizations like NCASCD, the regional education service agencies like the Piedmont Triad Education Consortium, most states have those regionally. They can provide support for new types of leaders. Both of those organizations, we have had to pivot in how and in what we do. And that is to meet the direct needs of schools. Our school leaders are at a more developmental level. They need coaching and support. They need, some of it is just to feel like they have someone they can ask a question, and no question is a stupid question. Some of it is to be tied with a mentor or a partner, a job-alike member. That's what we do a lot in our region, is making sure that they know to call each other and reach out and ask how to do things. So creating systems of support is what I really see that our schools need now and are going to continue to need. I think equity in many ways, because there's more openings, it should give women more opportunity. But we certainly want women to be successful in those roles. And so something like We Lead helps fill some of the gaps where they may have missed some developmental opportunities. It links them to a network of women who are maybe more like-minded than their male colleagues that can help them navigate. And it, provides a constant level of support when people need it. Sometimes you don't know you need it until the day comes and you need something. So to be established as an organization, whether it's We Lead or the other organizations, I think educators need to know there are resources out there where they can find. And I think resources, our educators have to support each other. And everyone needs to understand that.
Yes, the community is so important, to build
Yes.
community. And so I thank you for being a part of that effort to build this wonderful supportive community for women in education. So over your 10 years working with We Lead and your amazing career as an educational leader, is there a powerful story or maybe a moment that has stayed with you? And it could be from the We Lead community or from your work in school districts about the impact of the work.
Well, we do this for children, and people who are educators don't do this for money or acclaim. What I have enjoyed as an educator is seeing other people grow. I've worked in all types of schools. I was telling someone a story the other day about when I was a middle school principal. I pulled into the parking lot and a student was sitting in my parking space. He was bleeding, been in a terrible fight, but he didn't know where else to go, so he waited for me to come to work. I'm friends with some of my old students on Facebook, and I've watched them grow and develop into, professionals and parents and members that are giving so much back to our communities and society. And, with We Lead, the impact you have on adults. I feel like the magic of We Lead happens between our meetings. It happens between Zoom calls. It's where these women have connected with each other and they can reach out to each other. They've found people who are either maybe they're working on a project in a school, or maybe they're the Title I coordinator and they know how to do that budget. And they may be across the country, but they're able to reach out and call them. So being an educator is someone that, influences and impacts people. I think that question you could ask any educator, and they have tons of stories to tell about children, families, and adults that they have had some small influence in their lives. And they, in return, have influenced my life. They have, most of my friends I've met through education or some form of that. They have influenced me and who I am. And that's been just such a pleasure to have that be kind of what I've done for a living. Yeah.
Thank you. So I started my teaching career actually in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools, relocated to the Washington, D.C. area, came back, was principal in Winston-Salem for Forsyth County Schools, came back to Maryland, just a lot of things, right? And so that mentorship and sponsorship that we always talk about really helped to develop strong women leaders. How can more experienced leaders create or help create that pipeline of support, just like you are doing with the organization?
So if you're at We Lead, I often ask the audience, how many of you are in a leadership role today because someone encouraged you to do that? They said something to you, and most every hand goes up in the room. That mimics what the Data shows us, the research says most women need to be tapped, they need to be encouraged to move into a leadership role. I remember the day my principal said to me, I was a high school teacher, and she said, "You could be a principal one day." And it wasn't that I didn't think I could, it had just never crossed my mind. I was really busy trying to be a good teacher. I was really working on what I was doing right then. And that's very typical of women. What satisfies us, again, what the research says, is we get satisfaction out of, having purpose and meaning, all the things I just told you about being an educator. We don't get satisfaction out of a title or more money. So that didn't really mean anything to me, but it did plant a seed. I had never seen myself that way as a leader. And so it planted a seed. And a year or two later, I started researching, well, first of all, what's it like to be a principal? And what do I have to do that? And do I want to do that? And so I'm so fortunate that she did say that to me, because I may have been still in the classroom for 30 years. Again, nothing wrong with that. I still have impacted many people's lives. But that's what I would tell people is look around you and see, are there one or two people? Are there some women that need that encouragement? Can you provide opportunities for them to lead something small, to take a step in that? It's not for everyone. But if you're seeing some of those traits that person can be a good leader, they can see a bigger picture. I always say that leaders are able to see when there is a problem. They're able to, so they can identify a situation. They can see that it needs to be cleaned up, and they know how to do it competently, and they have the will to do it and to do it well. So you have to have those three kind of traits. And I think we all know women that we just kind of get in our own world and go our day to day, but take that time to be intentional, because that will change someone's life. May not be immediate, but it may be down the future, which in turn feeds back and changes many other lives. So I think we can all do a better job of that.
You absolutely can. Thank you for that. So there may be women out there listening who are aspiring to leadership. And first of all, we know that leadership is not title, it's impact and influence. So, and I always say wherever you are, you can lead, right? But there may be someone who actually want a leadership position, and want to have a leadership role that may be feeling stuck or even unsure. What advice or what would you tell them at this moment?
So I would ask them to take a few minutes and reflect on their skills as a leader. What are you good at? Are you a good listener? Do you plan? Do you make lists? Do you get things done on time? Are you able to delegate? What are the experiences that you've had? So your skills and your experiences. And then I would tell them to start looking around, seeing if there are positions open. Do they have a trusted person that they can talk to about this? Someone whose opinion they trust, that they could say, hey, what do you think about this role? What do you know about this role? Is their supervisor someone that they can talk to about providing them with some leadership experiences where they are, if they don't already have those? So you just kind of got to make the first step. Think about yourself first. Look at what's out there. Another place where we get stuck as women is we often see a job description, and if we don't meet every criteria, we just don't apply for it. And I've had women call me who may, like you're saying, they're interested, but they kind of feel stuck. And they'll say, well, but I'm going to go back and get this other certificate or take this other class, and then I'll apply for it. Well, men typically don't do that. They're just going to apply for it. And then they're going to be your boss. And they may not be, as qualified as you are, but you're now going to be working for them, or they'll be influencing your day to day. So you need to consider that. And that's why I tell women to sit down and think about the skills that you have that are transferable. Do you know everything about the job? Probably not. Every role I've taken, it's been a learning curve. With these roles that I have now, it's an ongoing learning curve. When you're running large organizations that are statewide, regional, national, the world is changing and you have to learn how to change with it. Your professional development is your own responsibility. No one tells me to go get training or I need so many credits. I know I need that, so I have to find it for myself. I have to figure out what I need. So, take things in your own hands and start to think about it, and then have the courage to go do it, because you will learn from the experience of applying and interviewing. Even if you don't get that, what it gives you the courage to do it the next time. And also remember, when they interview you, you're also interviewing them. And you want to make sure it's a good match. So it's really taking that first step.
I love it. Great sound advice. All of you who are aspiring to lead, take heed. So, Dr. Cox, I am truly excited about the We Lead K-12 conference that's coming up this fall in Greensboro, North Carolina. And I also see that you have a conference scheduled for higher education as well. So that's
Yes.
awesome. Can you tell us more about both of those conferences and what can attendees expect if they attend?
Absolutely. So, my conferences, I've done one in Greensboro. I think this is the 8th year. And I've kind of got the schedule laid out in a pattern where we come in the afternoon, we have a couple keynotes, and then we have a reception. The next morning, we have breakout sessions, and we end around lunchtime. That seems to be a good pattern. And that reception time in the evening, when people can go to dinner together, really builds in some collaboration, some networking, so that when they come back the second day, you've made some friends and it's built a sense of community. The keynotes that I look for and vet are inspirational. The topics are relevant, and I really work to make sure that that they're top notch and that they're meaningful. We do have keynotes already laid out for both of those events, and I'm sure I'll get more in by then. And I'm open for proposals from women as well, to send in for small group proposals. We will be talking about health and wellness and fitness throughout the conference. We do that between speakers. We do activities. We get up and move. We dance. We talk about nutrition. We talk about things that you can do in your office or during the day to build strength, to build stamina, and to make sure that you are taking care of yourself. We're all really busy. We just have to squeeze it in. So sometimes it doesn't have to be 30 minutes at a time. It can be 5 minutes at a time. And so people have come up to me after 6 months and said, I've lost 60 pounds. And all I did was I drank more water and I got more steps in. But they just started small, and they really started just paying attention. We talk about what's the best thing to eat when you're on the road. When we're traveling between schools or between meetings, and we're good to, that's where you make bad decisions, is when you're in a hurry. So the event is a powerful event. I rarely leave one where I don't have people hugging and kind of crying at the end. It's meaningful to be in a room with people that are like you, telling stories that are like you. I often have panel discussions, and it builds a community in a short amount of time. And that's my goal. I am expanding to higher ed this year. I've had people from higher ed attend for years, but I felt like they kind of felt alone. And I had a panel of higher ed deans from different schools last year in Greensboro. And it was a really powerful discussion, and their experiences are similar, but they're in a different environment. And so I'm doing another, 2 half days for them as well. So there's a lot of interest there, and I think there's a lot of need for them too. Their career path is different, and I want them to have that time and space to have those discussions.
I love the expansion. I really do. Are there any other new initiatives on the horizon for We Lead?
Well, right now, the online membership is growing and developing. We have online membership that kind of keeps the momentum going between in-person events. I do have some events planned for other states. We always go back to South Carolina in the spring. I have one in Alabama, and I'm talking to some people in Arkansas again as well. I've been to Arkansas before. Um, and online, I'm looking at doing some cohorts of people, more like a classes, um, mainly because of the amount of turnover and then the support that people need. But our membership is growing, and I encourage people to consider being a part of that because that gives you ongoing touch points and a stable network of women to reach out to at any time and to share resources. So that I think has been really powerful too.
Excellent. Oh my gosh. I know I attended one of the conferences in Greensboro. I think it was in a hotel off Friendly when I did
Mhm.
that several years ago
Yeah.
and thoroughly enjoyed it and looking forward to this fall. So, Dr. Cox, I just want to say thank you for, first of all, taking the time out to share about the organization, about the conference, for all of those amazing educational leaders out there. And I want to give you this space to share how our audience can connect with you, how can they follow you, and keep up with all the amazing things that you're doing.
Sure. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram, on X. You can, and on LinkedIn, just look for We Lead. My email is Lillie at Women Ed Leaders. That's Lillie at womenedleaders.com. Womenedleaders.com is the website, and that's the best way to find all the ways to find me. So I
Very
appreciate this opportunity to talk about We Lead and what we're doing.
Absolutely. Just simply amazing. And again, so needed. And to my audience, we want to thank you as well. We want to thank you for joining us on this journey as we explore the depths of Dr. Cox's vision and purpose. Your vision is the compass guiding you through life, and your purpose is the fuel that propels you forward. We want you to keep dreaming, keep believing, and keep pursuing your purpose. Every step you take brings you closer to the fulfillment of that purpose. I'm your host, Dr. Sharon H. Porter, and until next time, live life with vision and purpose. Thank you for joining another episode of Vision and Purpose Podcast. Please share, like, and subscribe. Please join us every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time.